King, 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 King.
Great Wednesday. Welcome to the King Connections podcast. I'm your host, King, and I'm excited to today's show because we're going to talk about something that is a core value to me and really being able to delve into someone who's in alignment with that and have a conversation with someone who's in alignment with that is something that I definitely look forward to. So I want to welcome to the show author, or to the show again. She's a repeated guest, second time she's appeared on King Connections podcast, Kim Lengling. How you doing today, Kim?
I'm doing great, King. How are you? Yeah, I was looking to see when I was on, and it was a few years ago. It was in 2022.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's
So
good to
it's
see you again.
nice to be back.
And you still have the same exciting energy that you had then as well. So welcome back.
Well, that's a good thing. I'm able to carry that on a few years, huh?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, we're looking forward to today's show. And before we get started, one of the questions I always like to ask to kind of really set the context of the show for our listening audience as well as us as in communication is what's your spiritual energy level being from 0 being life sucks to 10 being life is awesome? Where would you say you are in this moment?
Yeah, it's got to be a 10
Okay.
because I woke up and I'm here, and
There
I'm
you go.
grateful, and I'm grateful for that. So for me, that's a 10.
Excellent. Nice. Excellent. Well, I'm a 10 as well. So I join you in that. And the reason I ask that question is because I've learned from every time I have a meeting, a podcast, or at an event, I ask that question because I learned that if people say they're 5 or less, they're not going to be engaged. It's not going to be a good conversation. They're going to be antagonistic. So it's best to just like reschedule, because again, it's not about a permanent. It's just in this moment, what energy you bring into the conversation. It could be.
That is a really good litmus test you've got there.
Thank you.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
Because when people say they're a 10 or 7 or better, it's going to be a great show, and we're going to be open minded. We can actually communicate and have a
Right.
great conversation.
Right.
Because we live in this world now. It's about people just want to tell you their perspective. That
Right.
here's
They
my
just
truth,
talk. Yeah.
and they're closed off. They know all the answers. It's just you need to understand my truth. This is what you don't get. This is what you're lacking. So it's great to have a conversation with somebody who is in line with me on the 10.
Awesome. I'm glad to be here.
Excellent. So let's get started. This is correct me if I'm wrong, this is your second book?
No, this is 3, 4, 5, 6, seventh book.
Seventh book. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's get into kind of give us a synopsis of the book, and then we get into some key questions about the book as well.
Okay, so the book is Nuggets of Hope. There we are. And I made it smaller. It's like a 5x8. I liked the small size that folks can tuck in their pocket or in a tote bag and carry with them when they might need that little nugget of hope, that little, spot of inspiration. Nugget of Hope synopsis is it's a book that's literally just giving folks just simple ways to cultivate kindness and to be kinder. Mm-hmm. And to spread kindness out into the world, to toss those little nuggets of hope. And then also how to be a nugget of hope to others. And then I share personal stories that I've had and that experienced over the last couple of years. And I was keeping note of them as they were happening. And I incorporated those into the book too. But it's really just, sharing the general purpose of it doesn't cost you anything to be kind. There's no reason for you not to be kind. And even when you don't feel kind yourself, be kind to others anyway, because it can certainly turn your day around.
Absolutely. Absolutely. One of the gentlemen who was a great salesman, but he was also a great motivational speaker back in the day in the 50s and 60s. His name was Og Mandino. And he says, do all things with love, And I always thought that was a very simpler way of looking at how you go out and interact with people. I know it's not easy, obviously, right? But
No, it's not.
if it's your true north, it's your guiding principle, let you know, am I doing everything in love? You can correct yourself. Are you being kind? You know, I have this campaign I do, which I call Giving with Intent. And I define giving with intent as putting kindness into action, you know, and it's about helping other nonprofits raise capital for their initiatives and their program by being a for-profit business that's practicing what I call spiritual capitalism. So when you talk about kindness, nuggets of kindness, that to me resonates very well with me. I like the term nugget, meaning that, you have several and you just have one that you want to give out today, or you might give several out today, but it's just something that you can look at as something I can do in a moment.
Right.
Kindness, depending on when you do it, how you do it, where you do it, it can be received as a blessing to someone who's receiving your kindness, on the receiving end of your kindness.
Right.
And they could have been praying for something and you come along and it could be a word, it could be your book, it could be whatever that nugget is.
Yep.
They can walk away feeling as though the blessing was answered that day.
And it's been an amazing journey for me, because the nuggets, I actually have nuggets that I give out. These little, they're polished stone with the word hope engraved on them. And
I love that.
yeah, and I carry them with me wherever I'm at. And, I had shared this with you briefly, a while back about, how this came about. The word hope was showing up everywhere, like reading, listening, I would hear it everywhere. I'd see it everywhere. And I'm like, am I supposed to be doing something with this word hope? And what am I supposed to be doing? Mm-hmm. And at that time in my life, I was in a down, kind of dark spot. And then this word hope's everywhere. And I don't know about you or others out there listening. Sometimes, hope's out there. There's joy, and there's laughter and love. But when you're in your little dark bubble, you don't want to hear it.
Right.
You don't want to hear anything about it. And I was seeing this word hope everywhere. I'm like, what? Yeah, hope, whatever. It was actually kind of making me angry. And then I had to step back and take a breath. And I'm like, all right, where's this coming from? And now I'm a Christian. And so I believe in God. And I believe that he nudges you when you need nudged. And I believe that was him just trying to give me a reminder, here's the word hope. Okay, now here's a song you're going to hear now, and it's going to have hope all through, So that was going on for a couple of weeks, and it was really, the word was just everywhere. And I thought, well, what am I supposed to do? I don't even feel good about myself. How am I supposed to give hope to somebody else? And why should I want to? And then I remembered that I think it was a couple years prior to that, I was at a networking event, and they were handing out these little 6-packs of little business cards, but they were like powerful or self-affirmations on them, like, you're a rock star, you're awesome. You've got this, stuff like that on those cards. And there were 6 of them. And I was like, all right, I think I still have those. So I found those and decided to carry them with me. And then I was out running errands one day, and I remembered I had them with me. I'm like, all right, so maybe these can be little nuggets of hope. And that was where the nugget of hope thing came from, the word nugget. I'm like, well, I'm just going to drop these cards. So I was in a store and just started dropping the cards. I put some in the cookies. I put one in a pocket of a pair of jeans. I put one in with the motor oil. I just tucked them in wherever I thought people would find them when they were grabbing the item that they were wanting to purchase. And of course, not knowing how that would play out or who would find it. But I thought, okay, I did that, and whoever's meant to find that will. Okay, done. Nuggets of hope, done. Thank you, God. But it didn't stop. That nudge just kept coming. And the word, it seemed it was even more prevalent after that. And I'm like, what am I supposed to do? I am one person, and I'm a mess. I am a mess. I don't want to do this. But it was very persistent. And so, I was like, all right, I'll try. I'll keep on trying. And I got online and found these little things. And I thought, all right, well, I'll purchase a little package of them because they're not cheap. And I'll find, and then I'll figure out what I'm going to do with them. So they came, and I put a few in my coat pocket, and I put a couple in my purse. And I thought, okay, next time I'm out and about, if I remember, maybe I'll drop them some. Yeah, I really wasn't motivated. Let's put it that way. Like, yeah, I'll do this. I'll give hope. And, you know, and I was in a store, and I shared this story with you, I think, a few days ago. I was in the store, and this is the first one of these I handed out. And I was walking down this aisle, grocery store, and I saw an older woman in front of me just standing, staring at, the shelves of items. But I could tell right away that she wasn't seeing what she was looking at. She was kind of like in her own little world there for a minute. You know how you get kind of lost in thought, especially when your life is a bit bumpy? You might just be like, and then you just end up standing. I've done it. I've caught myself doing that out in public before,
Absolutely.
And I recognized that in this older woman, and I'm very empathetic. And there are times when it feels like I can physically feel emotion, and that can be heavy at times. And I felt something coming off of her, and I was just like, and it was so strong in my head, she needs a nugget of hope. And I was like, okay, reached my hand into my coat pocket, pulled out my little nugget of hope, and I'm like, okay, I'm supposed to actually talk to a person. I walked up to her very quietly and came from the side, so I didn't startle her. And I said, excuse me, ma'am, very gently, excuse me, ma'am, but I would like to. And I reached out my hand, held out my hand like this, and she held out hers right away, open palm. She's a stranger to me. I'm a stranger to her. And I said, I would like to give you a nugget of hope today. And I just placed it gently in her hand, and she closed her hand over it. And I said, I wish you a blessed day. And I turned to walk away because I strongly feel I'm not supposed to sit and chit chat. I'm not supposed to find out their name or their story. I am just supposed to give them the nugget of hope. And as I walked away, I heard her say, you have no idea. Thank you so much. You have no idea. And I turned and looked back over my shoulder, and she was standing there looking down in her hand at the nugget of hope that I had given her. And as I walked away, I was just like, okay. Yeah. It was the penny was dropping of why I should be doing this. And I got to my car, and I get teary-eyed about it still, because that was a really powerful moment. And when I got to my car, got all my groceries, put my car, and I sat in my car, and I just put my head on my steering wheel and cried. Cried. And went, okay, all right, I heard you. I'm listening. I'll keep on doing this. I'm supposed to give hope even when I don't want to. And so I continued, and I've been doing it for over 2.5 years now. And when I would come home, I would write those stories down just because I wanted to keep track of them for myself as a reminder, kind of like journaling it out,
Absolutely.
As a reminder. So when I would, if I was having a poopy day, because we all do. And if I would have a day like that, I would be like, all right, reminder, Kim, we all have to find that way to boost our own selves sometimes. Sometimes during a day, we don't have someone giving us a nugget of hope. Sometimes we have to be our own nugget of hope. And so those stories helped me. And then this idea for a book, I'm thinking, if they're helping me, why wouldn't they help other people? Or give other people, that inspiration to do something in their own small slice of the world to make it a better place. I'm just one person. I can't do it all over the place, but oh my goodness, think about if everyone in their own small slice of the world did something to be kinder every day.
Absolutely.
Can you imagine what the world would be like? So, that's just like, because the way the world is now, you're like, oh my gosh, is there kindness left? Is there any kindness left anywhere? Finger pointing and name calling and, oh my gosh, left and right and it's just the world has lost its collective mind, and we need more kindness. And, there are people out there who be like, oh yeah, kindness, schmindness, look at you, goody two shoe, blah, blah, blah. And that's okay. That can be their perception. But that also shows that they're a very hurting person, and they probably need a little nugget of hope themselves. So I saved those stories, and then decided, that this idea of a book came together, and I'm like, how can I do this And I just decided I'm like, Kim, just do it. Just do it. So I researched on different things that have happened over the years of other people, like the pay it forward thing, and then buy a coffee for the person behind you in line, all those things that have happened that got, international attention. And I'm thinking, it shouldn't have to be a headline in the news to get your attention. I mean, we should be able to do that just naturally. And because I think we're not here to be divisive or live in hatred. We're not here to live in fear. That's not why we were put on this planet. I don't believe so. I'm just sharing my own opinions, folks. So I decided to create this book. I did some research, came up with some, fun little ideas, or just little tips. Here, try this. Smile at a stranger. Compliment a stranger. I have found, and I love doing that, complimenting a stranger. I have found that to be so fun. So, because not all the time do I feel I'm supposed to give a nugget out. I think I'm just supposed to smile at somebody, or I'll get this strong thing, compliment that woman. And there were these 3 older ladies, and they all had big purple hats on, and they were awesome. These hats were awesome. And you could tell that all 3 of these ladies, as my grandma used to say, were just full of it up to here. They were having a great time with each other. You can tell that they had been friends for a long time. They had to have been well into their 70s. They all had their arms linked, and they were just having so much fun. This was in a grocery store. They were giggling like schoolgirls, and they had their hats were just amazing. They were huge. Nothing you would normally wear, and they were awesome. And I stood there smiling because they were laughing, and they had no idea that they were giving me a nugget of hope at that moment, just witnessing their happiness. And so I walked up to them and I said, ladies, I have got to tell you that I absolutely love, love, love your hats and your energy. And they just thought that was the best thing ever. They're like, oh, so I'm thinking right there, that's a little nugget of hope. But they gave me one without even realizing it. People see how you act, and that reflects off of you, and it could bounce onto them.
Absolutely.
I don't know. Here's a question for you, King. I don't know if you do this, but we have a grocery store here that plays music really loud, and it happens to be the music that I grew up to. And there are times I'm literally singing out loud or dancing as I'm pushing my cart. Do you do that?
I don't. Not so much in public, but I definitely do it. I'm more private. I'll do it in my car.
Okay. Oh, sure. So you are dancing. You're a dancing fool in your kitchen at home, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
So I do that. I do that in the grocery store. Good song comes on and I'll be like, all right, oh my gosh, I was 16 when this song reminds me of when I was 16. And I've noticed, and I don't do that to get attention. It's just me. It's just how I am. Right. But there are times where I will notice someone and they'll be stopping and they'll just be standing there grinning or laughing. And I'm thinking, all right, well, I just gave them something to smile about today. I don't care if they're looking at me or they're judging me. That's okay. That's on them.
Right.
I'm enjoying my moment in time, and that song that took me back, so I think that you yourself can be a nugget of hope without even realizing it, just by, spreading joy, especially when you're not feeling it yourself.
I think that's really powerful. I just love listening to the story you were sharing, listen to the ripple effects of kindness, right? And, when you talked about, you got this feeling, this urge, and what came to my mind was, one of my favorite authors, and the book that I look at as my Bible, is The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen R. Covey. Mm-hmm. And he talks about, really in his other book, The 8th Habit, but it's all in alignment. He talks about that what's called the first whisper of conscious, that you hear something or you feel something. And what is that? Is it a kind act that you're thinking? I think it comes back to what you feed yourself and what energy level you're vibrating on, that first whisper of conscious. And then if you act on it, then you get the benefit, right? So as you talk about when you were maybe in a funk yourself, but to get out of that funk, that first whisper conscious said, be kind.
Mhm.
And how you be kind once you step out to say, okay, I'm gonna be kind. I don't know how I'm gonna do it, but you just figure it out as you do it. You have the faith, exercising faith in that process. That's just really fascinating. And what's really so I would say necessary right now, Stevie Wonder has a song. It's an old song he had, came out in maybe the 80s. It's called Love is in Need of Love Today,
Mm.
right? And that's how I feel because right now, as you talked about, I look at all the noise that's happening. It's insanity to me. And it's like we are in a world where everything is centered on getting your attention. So whatever I got to do to get your attention, I'm going to do that, right? So you watch the sports pundits, the political pundits, people on YouTube, what they call clickbait, anything to get you to click and get your attention, regardless of I'm not necessarily going to have any integrity. I don't have to worry about being true with my statement. I just want you to click on this video, watch what I'm saying, give me your attention right now. And people don't think about the impact and the effects it has on people. And for you to be in the mindset of, I'm not going to let myself be consumed by those thoughts and take it down those rabbit holes and let people deposit their negative energy in me for whatever their agenda may be. I'm going to choose my own. And see, when you're thinking along those lines of, let me give this person a nugget, or it's a nugget and I should put hope on it. And that whole process that you create around that, you're not thinking anything negative. See,
Mm.
those two thoughts can occupy the same space. So to talk to someone who has that kind of heart in this time frame, and you don't only know each other very well at all. It's our maybe fourth conversation
Yeah. Yeah.
that we've had, but to be able to be in alignment with each other, that's to me is what's so important. And that's my whole philosophy behind connecting with intent, is that you connect with intent with people who you are in alignment with. And that transcends the societal norms of race, gender, sexual orientation, religion, politics, all those things.
Right.
So I say all that to say thank you for being you and having such a great idea. I just think that's a wonderful idea because it serves two purposes. Again, it's a blessing to someone else. Then it ends up indirectly being, once you really let it go and you let God guide you, it ends up being a blessing for you as well. And to do that without thinking that way, what am I getting out of this first? Like before I go out here and do all this giving nuggets away, how does that benefit me, right?
Yeah.
Instead of you thinking that and having that selfish energy around it, you just say, I want to serve. And that's what's powerful. So
That you brought up something. I'm glad you brought that up. Like you're doing something, then some folks might think, well, I'm going to do this, but how's it going to benefit me? As soon as you said that, how's it going to benefit? I actually got like an icky feeling because I'm not built that way. And there are a lot of people that, of course, do, that's their thought process. Oh, I'll do this, or I'll donate here. I'll give my time here. I'll give all this money here. But what am I getting in return?
right.
I can honestly say I don't think I've ever had that thought. It makes me feel gross for just me. Because I do a lot of volunteering too, with my veteran organization that I'm a part of. And I've volunteered for well over 25 years. I mean, it's ingrained. It's part of my life, my daily life. And yeah, I've never, when I have a hard time accepting compliments, I always have. So we send care. This is an example. We were just talking about this last night. We had a troop packing. We send my veteran post, myself and another lady of the post 25 years ago. We're in our 25th year. We started Project Support Our Troops, where we get donations of money and donations, and we ship them to active duty military, wherever they're serving around the world. And we've been doing it for 25 years. And that's hundreds of thousands of boxes that we've shipped out. and everything's been done by donation. And her and I were talking last night, and we pack every single month of the year. We send out about 100, between 100 and 150 boxes. And last night we were packing up boxes, and we were talking about, wow, it's been 25 years. And I said, I just had a young Army captain a couple weeks ago approach me and say, hey, when I was deployed to such and such, I received boxes from you, and I just wanted to thank you and let you know that they really, really do make a difference.
Mm.
And I went, you're more than welcome. He goes, no, thank you so much. I was like, you don't need to thank me, but I appreciate that you do. And I'm so glad that, you know, you got the box. And they always share them with their comrades. They always share them with their buddies, you know?
Right.
So, he's like, and all the guys appreciate everything. And, you know, we get letters and emails and stuff like that from the men and women saying, oh my goodness, it was like Christmas. And, you know, some of the guys were fighting over the Skittles, who was going to get the Skittles, you know, or who was going to get the Starburst, you know, because we send all kinds of goodies and stuff in them. And that it's those, you know, we're doing it because we strongly feel it needs to be done, and that our men and women need to know that they are prayed for and cared for and thought about, that because they're in tough spots, and that can get pretty dark pretty quick, and it could be really hard for them to crawl out of. So our boxes, I look at as, you know, we're just chucking nuggets. We're just chucking nuggets across the pond, you know, to around the world, to wherever our men and women may be. And when we get thank yous, her name's Lori, myself, we co-chair this project together. And we both sit there. We're always saying, you know, no thank you necessary. We both get uncomfortable with compliments and thank yous. Mm-hmm. And I've never really been able to figure out why I get uncomfortable with that, because I'm just doing what I think we should all be doing, is caring. I don't know. I just rambled. Sorry.
No. Again, I think that speaks who you are as a person. And to me, again, and I'm in the business of relationships and connections. So in studying human behavior and getting in the habit of understanding what's the best process to speak to a complete stranger that you connect with online and hop on a call where you have to be completely present with the individual. You know, like if we met in person, then there's a chance I can look at my phone, I can glance a quick glance somewhere else, get my attention. But when you're on a Zoom or you're in a session where the camera is looking directly in your face, we have to be present. Right. And having the right energy with you, right? So I can get on a call, I can just, you know, but listening to you talk about how you, again, are showing your acts of kindness, your nuggets of kindness, you know, nuggets of hope. I just think that's just wonderful. And again, I don't get tired of hearing about it because I don't hear about it regularly. Is my point I'm getting at. So,
and you know what?
It's not rambling to me. It's like I love hearing these stories because I hear enough negative stories. This is nice to hear about somebody who actually is doing something for the purpose. Now, I would add this little piece of advice or suggestion. I look at giving and receiving go hand in hand like breathing. You gotta go, you gotta let it go out. So when a person is saying thank you, look at it this way: that there's a way of giving you something back, and you accept you. I'm not judging when I say this, but if you give the impression you're not an acceptance of that, you might deny that person their energy. And
you are right.
Then the person just share that with you, like, you just did something for me. I just really want to share this back because only you can understand how this makes me feel. I can go try to explain the story to somebody else, but it's not going to have the same energy. It's not going to be in the same moment. So let me share that back with you and have this moment with you.
Yeah. Because I certainly wouldn't want to take something from somebody. Take that little part of their joy away.
And you deserve it because I look at it this way. I'm a system engineer, so I'm alwaing in the process of things. But every soul you touch like that is like you're connecting with them, and they become the stories in your mind, the books, what you've written in your books, what you're sharing with me, they become those stories. So I'm hearing, and every time I might share this with somebody else. So even though we're not saying names, we're talking about still the energy that was created around that. And it makes people think, especially people who, most people want to be kind, right? Circumstances can then make you not kind in that moment. But I believe, and I was going to use this to lead to my next question. I think everything comes down to how do you see your purpose in life. Like I see my purpose in life is to serve.
Mm.
How I serve depends on where I am in my life, along the maturity continuum, with wisdom I'm at, with space and all that. But service is going to be in some form of fashion. And when you do that, I think that when you can't serve, you can't, like we're natural problem solvers. Depression comes when we can't solve our own problem. And that's where we get hopeless, feel
Yeah.
hopeless because we can't solve our own problem. But when you turn that energy and those creativity back into what can I do for someone else, it takes you out of that space of hopelessness and puts you back in your natural problem solving, serving state, which now gets you feeling great about yourself. So that's how I look at when you're doing kindness. Now, navigating who to be kind to, because
Mm.
I've learned that for me is, and maybe you have a different approach, so I want to ask you this, something I can learn from, that trying to detach myself from the outcome. Whereas, because I believe some people are deserving of it, just because someone needs it, don't mean they necessarily deserve it. And I don't know if I'm being judged in that space or not, but sometimes that's how I feel. Like I definitely want to be kind, but I want to be kind to someone who I feel not only need it, but they deserve it as well. Is
That
that wrong?
they'll receive it.
And they receive it as well. Am I
Yeah.
wrong in that? Is that selfish?
No, I've often felt the same way, and then I feel like, oh, am I being a horrible person? But then I'm thinking, you know what? I could be kind all day long to this particular person, and they're not going to receive it. So I'm going to be wasting my time. I need to go be where it will be received, because not everybody's in a spot to receive kindness.
Hmm.
They're not. I know I've been in that spot before where, you can be in a really dark spot, really dark, and all kinds of people might be trying to help you, and you just keep pushing them away. Nope, don't need you. I'm fine. Leave me alone. Um, and then something happens where that little spark of light is lit, and then you're like, oh, yeah, I need help. I need that. I need that kindness that they're giving me. I know I've been there where I've pushed people away, and I probably wasn't very nice about it. Well, I know that for a fact that I wasn't. But it's the persistence of those who care that makes a big difference in someone's life as well. The persistence of those who care. Like Mr. Rogers, find the helpers.
Hmm.
I love that phrase. Find the helpers.
Hmm.
There are so many out there, and you yourself can be one. Look at when there's something big that happens, like the hurricanes or the fires, where communities it doesn't matter if they hated their neighbors the day before, they're all helping each other right now. Find the helpers. They're all helping each other right now. We all need to do that. Some folks can't receive it at that moment in time for whatever reason. Everybody's in a different spot.
Hmm.
They might be going through loss or grief or struggling from addiction, whatever the case may be. They may be going through it, an abusive relationship, and they can't receive kindness at that time because they're so mired in that dark muck.
Hmm.
But there's always a spark. So I guess I have run into people that don't want to oh, I have a good example. Can I share it?
Absolutely.
Okay. It's when I was doing this. I was giving out a nugget of hope, and I saw an older gentleman, probably in his 80s, and he was mumbling and grumbling rah, 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 in a grocery store again. Rah, rah, rah. He was mumbling and grumbling. And I had this nudge. It was like, he needs a nugget of hope. And I'm thinking, oh, should I be approaching this guy? Because he did not look like he was in a very good mood. But it was very strong. And I was like, okay. Deep breath. Approached the gentleman and I said, excuse me, sir. And he turns around and looks at me, what? And I was like, I would like to give you a nugget of hope today. And I held out my hand. He held out his hand and accepted the nugget, put it in his pocket, and then yelled at me, what the hell do I have to hope for?
Wow.
And continued to yell. And I just stood there, not saying anything. And I just took it because I'm sitting there thinking, it is not me that he's angry at.
Right.
It is not me. Something big is going on in this gentleman's life. And he didn't look well. He looked very, very tired. Very tired. And I'm thinking, this is a hurting soul.
Mm.
And if he needs to yell at me, fine. And he did. And I let him, And when he was done, I said, sir, I do want to wish you a blessed day. And he's just like, rah, 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 and he's like swearing and rah, 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 and looking for some dish soap. He kept mentioning dish soap, and we were in the dish soap aisle, and he couldn't find the type that he was looking for, and that put him over the edge. Mm. And, I left him. I wished him a blessed day, and I left. And as he's grumbling, and I got my stuff, got to my car, and this one was hard for me. I mean, I sobbed. I was crying so hard in my car. I'm like, boy, the cameras in the Walmart parking lot are probably used to, who is this crying woman in her car all the time? But I was crying so hard, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, my heart hurts so bad for him because I don't know what he's going through. Maybe he just buried his wife of 62 years, and he knows that there's a specific dish soap that she always used, and he ran out and he can't find it. And it just put him over the edge. Mm-hmm. Maybe he himself has been very, very, very sick. And this is his first time out of the house to run some errands. And he's tired and he can't find the dang dish soap and he just wants to get home. Maybe that's it. Maybe he's caring for his wife who has Alzheimer's and he never sleeps because she has sundowners and he doesn't know what to do. And he's losing her bit by bit each day. And it breaks his heart every single day over and over and over again. And he can't find the dang dish soap, and that put him over the edge. Any one of those or any other scenario could have been where he was at in that moment in time. And I thought, you know what? Then I realized, because I had myself quite worked up about this. And then I sat there and I was like taking a deep breath and I'm like, and then this little whisper, but he put the nugget in his pocket. Hmm. And then I went, oh, he put the nugget in his pocket. He didn't push me away. He didn't not receive what I was doing. He accepted it. Some part of his heart accepted it. So maybe when he got home and put his stuff away and empties his pockets and puts it in a bowl on the table in the hallway like my grandpa used to do. And the next day he's getting ready to do his stuff and he just, grabs that stuff and shoves it in his pocket like he always does every day. And they looked down and went, oh, what's nugget of hope? Hope. Maybe it was then. Maybe it was then it sparked something. Maybe it was a week later that he looked in that bowl or wherever it is that he put his stuff from his pocket. Maybe it was on his dresser and he looked down and saw the nugget of hope and went, oh, hope. Wow, I was probably pretty mean to that young lady, but she gave me hope. So who knows where that went with him, but he wasn't ready to receive that day. I mean, he was swearing at me and he wasn't talking loudly. He was yelling. Other people noticed it. And I was just standing there calmly taking it. because I'm thinking, please no one interfere. Please no one come in and interfere. Let him do this because I'm willing to take it. And when I walk out of the store, I'll take it off and I'll chuck it somewhere else.
Mm.
You know, I'm not going to carry his negative energy, but that hurt stayed with me for a few minutes because I don't think that wasn't meanness coming out of him. I think that was just a whole lot of hurt. And hurting people hurt people.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, that's an empathy you talked about you have earlier. You know, that's emotional intelligence, being able to see and feel someone else's pain, you know, and that's important. And I want this is an excellent segue into our break. I want to piggyback on some emotional intelligence questions next in our next segment after the break, but I want to give time for our sponsor, and then we'll pick back up our show. So
the playbook for growing a local business online is simple. Capture new leads, conversationally convert those leads into sales, turn those customers into positive reviews, and then reactivate those customers into repeat buyers. And that's exactly what our platform does. In order to consistently generate new leads, you first need to be found. The quickest way to get search engines like Google to put your business at the top of search results is by having a steady flow of positive reviews. With our platform, you can show up in search and stand apart from your local competition by easily collecting new customer reviews through text. But getting found is only the beginning. Most consumers choose the first business that responds to them. So unless you start conversations with potential customers almost instantly, they'll go somewhere else. That's why we make starting conversations with website visitors as easy as clicking a button, connecting you instantly through text message so the conversation doesn't end when they leave your website. And we bring all your leads, no matter where they come from, into a single conversation stream that supports text, email, video messaging, Google Business Chats, and even Facebook and Instagram DMs, so you can respond faster and more efficiently than ever. When it comes to turning all those conversations into customers, we make collecting payments just another convenient part of the combo, so you get paid faster no matter how they prefer to pay. Next, you'll want to turn your new customers into happy reviews, which is a snap with our new review request quick actions. The more conversations and customers you generate, the easier it becomes to drive repeat business. We make reactivating contacts into customers as easy as, yup, you guessed it, the push of a button. With bulk actions, you can send out text and email campaigns to generate new sales whenever you have a new update, promotion, or story to tell. We make modern online marketing simple. Let's start growing your business today.
And we're back. Welcome back to the King Connections podcast. We're into our second half of our interview with Kim Lengling. And we're talking about, she was outlining her ability to have empathy and be willing to take on someone else's pain and negative energy in order to help them feel better. And like you said, you know, you never know at what point is he going to be willing to take that nugget of hope out and actually look at it and realize what it is and be ready to really receive it into his heart, into his spirit, and let it change his state, you know, because like I said, nowadays, just looking at the times we're in now, so much uncertainty, so much negativity. I just want to share this, and I'm going to roll into my next question. I just recently saw a series that really had an impact on me. And there's two docu-series that's made about this subject. The Purdue Forum and the opioids epidemic. And Netflix has one called Painkillers, which is interesting, and then Hulu has another one called Dope Sick. But watching that series just brings out a lot of, I highly recommend everyone needs to watch it for sure, just to really understand how Big Pharma works and how they were able to influence and use their money to control, to get a drug on the street that was addictive, killed people's lives, but it stayed out there just because their power and their influence, and just looking at how people's lives were impacted by that. That's what's really so impactful. And seeing how not only did it destroy the lives of the person taking the drug, but their lives, their families, their communities as well, because they become different.
Yeah.
They change as a result of becoming addicted to a drug and being lied to about it. That was the worst part about it, because the doctors are prescribing to you, and it can happen to anybody. You get hurt in an accident, you fall or whatever, and go and a doctor prescribes this pain medication. Next thing you know, you're addicted, and you don't realize the doctor is telling you information by the salesperson to make you addicted. So all that to say this, that watching the hopelessness in those people who family members were addicted and not knowing how to deal with that person, and at what point do you cut that person off officially out of your life? And then that person themselves being an addict and not being in control over their thoughts. They're being controlled by that drug, and they're have to do whatever it takes. Now, with that set as a context, how do you see, and I look at overcoming barriers like that with kindness? How do you see a way that nuggets of hope or just that energy, that empathy you bring can work in situations like that? It don't necessarily just have to be that particular drug addict situation, but just
No, but you brought up a good you brought up a memory for me as you were sharing that. There was a woman, probably it was years ago, less than 10 years ago though. She attended the same church I did, and she always sat in the pew behind me. And myself and this other woman, we always ended up sitting beside each other, every Sunday, same pew. And we have like a contemporary worship team. So it's more modern music and kind of gets, clapping your hands. And for me anyway, I already shared what I do in Walmart when a song comes on.
right.
Imagine what I look like in church when a good song's So myself and this other woman, she was the same, and so we just kind of gravitated towards each other and just chuckled about it, because we were like, and a good song would come on. And the woman behind us was a drug addict and struggling to overcome that and to quit. She was struggling to get rid of that addiction. And it was noticeable how hard she struggled. And she, a few times, she'd lean forward and say, I just love watching your two's energy because it gives me something to hope for.
Mm.
And we'd be like, oh, come on, come up. And she would never come and sit in the same pew with us because we said, come up here and sit with us. And I'm like, just crawl over the pew. Come on, sit up here. And she wouldn't.
Mm.
And she'd be like, oh, no, I'm going to stay right here. But she would be there every Sunday. And when she wasn't, it was noticeable, at least to myself and this other woman. And we'd be like, oh, man, I hope she's okay. Hope she's making it through the weekend. And then she'd show up the next Sunday and completely whacked out on drugs, looking a mess, acting a mess. And it was very, very noticeable that she was under the influence of something. But she came and sat in her spot. And I turned around the one day, and I will literally never forget this because this was the last time I saw her. I turned around and I said, Sweet Pea, I think you're having a tough day. And she's like, I shouldn't even be here. And she goes, and I'm sure you can tell. And I went, I can tell you're not at your best right now, but this is exactly where you need to be. And next Sunday, she wasn't there because she OD'd and died.
Wow. Sorry to hear that.
And I took that so hard, and I didn't even really know her. And myself and this other woman were literally pretty much the only two people who would talk to her in church. Everyone else kind of kept their space from her, like, ooh, I'll catch what she has, And I'm thinking, she's in church. She's dragging her butt here. She's trying so hard. She's trying so hard. And when I heard that she had overdosed and died, my first thought was, oh my gosh, could I have used different words? Could I have said more? Could I have done more? And I went to my pastor. I was so distraught. And he's like, Kim, you did exactly what you were meant to be doing.
Right.
She made choices, but you did what you were meant to be doing. And each Sunday she would thank you, and Charlene was the other woman's name. She would thank you both for your energy. So you were making an impact, but her demons, for whatever reason, were too strong. And showing kindness, that's like, I can't remember your question now. I got myself all worked up. But that's how you see it. You can see people hurting. You can see, and you also get like kind of an innate sense of when you should approach and when you shouldn't. At least I do, for me personally. But for her, I turned and saw her, and I knew that she was completely whacked out on stuff. She was gonzo. And I thought, oh, Lordy. And then that was my first thought, oh, Lordy. And then I was like, wait a minute. Even in this state, she still came to church. She's still fighting. She brought her demons with her. But what better place to bring your demons to have them slayed than into church, you know?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But her demons were way bigger than what my words could do. But I'm hoping that, my words over those weeks and those Sundays, all those Sundays in church, when she was sober and when she wasn't, I hope that my words gave her a little spark of hope in times.
Thank you for sharing that. And you just kind of answered my initial question. I believe it might be my first or second question I asked. You just answered it now. And that is, and when I asked the question, a book that came to mind that really talks about this as well. Deepak Chopra has a book called The 7 Spiritual Laws of Success. And one of the laws, he talks about the law of detachment. And when you share your story with me right there, that's when it clicked that we have to detach ourselves from the outcome. Because it's not so much about giving it to somebody, choosing to do it to certain people. It's in your soul to be kind. And certain people need that kindness whether you want to or not. And if you just allow yourself to let God work through you, then you've done your part. Whatever the outcome is going to be the outcome, right? And that's a growth I'm realizing in myself. I'm becoming aware of, because it's hard.
It is very hard.
One of the hardest things to do is give an act of kindness to someone and have them not accept it and make you feel that was a waste of your time. And it reminds me of, again, just from the context of being able to be in a space where you're saying, I'm going to be kind right now. I'm going to do something to be kind. And you have that power, and not giving someone else the ability to take their power away from you because of their lack of appreciation, their gratefulness, or just their energy at their time. So thank you for sharing that story, because it gives me guidance that's a part of me I got to work on, is the law of detachment. And I remember one time.
It's so hard, isn't it? I mean,
it's very hard.
It seems like you're the same type of empathetic person, because there are times I feel like stuff will attach to me and I carry it probably a little longer than I should.
Well, see, we all got to continue to grow, right? We all got things we got to work on within ourselves. And that's just a part of the things maybe you got to look at. I can improve on, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like one of the things I do every morning, I wake up and I go through my gratitude list and I say it out loud. Here's the things I'm grateful for, right? Because I realize it's impossible to go through that list and at the end of it still feel negative about today. My life, my health, my ability to see, hear, walk, talk, stand, breathe, etc. And once I say those things I'm grateful for, I'm I have my shield, my badge, my armor on, so to speak. That so whatever's going to happen is going to happen. Somebody can cut me off in traffic. Somebody can cuss me out at the grocery store. Some bad client can call and give me an earful. And again, brings another book up again that I look at and really read through and live or practice, I should say, the four agreements of not taking anything personal and remembering not to take it personal in that time frame. This, like you said, you have that wisdom already there. That what he's saying to me is not personal. Even though he's looking directly at you and he's giving you all this energy, you had the wisdom to realize and the empathy to say, it's not me that he's saying this to. I just happen to be the person that's right here in front of him right now while he's unleashing, and he needs to unleash. Because maybe if you didn't let him unleash on you like that, he can go out and do something more violent that he regret that could be more problematic again and have that ripple effect.
We never know. And that's what I find amazing is we never know how people look at us, our actions, because there might have been people walking by in that grocery store aisle seeing me taking that from that man, and someone might be, listen to that grumpy old man. Or, well, look at her. She's listening to him, or the same thing within church with the young lady who took her life. There was judgment from the pews coming. I felt it. And I was angry because of it, but I didn't approach the people that I knew were sitting there in judgment, because I thought they wouldn't take anything I have to say in the right vein anyway. So let them just sit in their misery. They'll figure it out or not. It's not my job. My job is to talk to this one right here who is hurting so bad, and what I'm always amazed about is, or I'd like to think of, and it amazes me, is maybe those ones that were sitting in judgment a few days later when they too found out that she was no longer with us, maybe it gave them pause. Like, maybe I shouldn't have been so judgmental. And maybe that'll change their mindset the next time.
Absolutely.
So that could be a nugget of hope too, just people witnessing what you're doing.
I don't disagree. I don't. I think people listen to this show. It could be a nugget of hope of something they're dealing with right now. And they may say to themselves, I like what she's doing. I'm going to give out nuggets of hope. And now it begins to spread. So all those things we never know. That's why I say you attach yourself from the outcome.
Yeah.
And work towards that, because it's not necessarily only for that person. It's for whoever can see it. And
right. You have no idea. I don't think we're not supposed to know.
Exactly.
We're just supposed to be kind.
Exactly. Because see, your story.
Be kind, darn it.
Because you could have went through that experience solely for, and that's why I'm saying we can play the reasons all day long.
Right.
But it could be solely for the purpose of me or someone else hearing your story, and next time they're in that situation, they do that, and then it has an impact. It has an effect, and that might have been the reason why you went through what you went through.
It might be, yeah. You don't know. You don't know.
So that's powerful. I have one more question I want to ask, and I want to ask this by setting this context that we know that you're an author. You mentioned the fact you're a Christian as well and a vet. So I'm curious to know what put you on this path, because it's like once you accepted it, you acted. You just wouldn't say, okay, I'm going to get up, I'm going to act, I'm going to have faith, exercise faith, and figure out what this whisper of conscience is saying to me, and it manifested nuggets of hope, right? So I'm curious to know what put you on that path for you to be able to receive that calling and that energy.
My life falling completely apart. And that's, I've found, typically how it works with folks. I was at a very, very low point, and life was just hammering me. And at that point, I didn't realize that, this was years ago. And at that point, I didn't realize that I had PTSD. But there was so much, there was death in my family. A dear friend committed suicide. I was going through divorce, and it was all happening within like a 3-month period of time. Work was really tough. And I'm like, how am I supposed to raise myself or, take care of myself and raise my daughter? And my dog is sick and older. I mean, everything just became this big, black, swirly mess. And then I couldn't sleep, and I was having nightmares and flashbacks to stuff that I experienced in the military. And that all started coming, and it was just one after the other. And I found myself on my knees on my living room floor, sobbing, like those kind of sobs that like it shakes your whole body sob. I mean, it's like your soul is screaming sob, that kind, really hard crying. And I remember just saying, please, 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 over and over again. I didn't know who I was talking to, and I didn't know what I was asking please for, because at that time I told myself I did not believe in God. As a matter of fact, I didn't like him. I hated him. And looking back, it's like, how can you hate something that you try to convince yourself doesn't exist? Doesn't make sense.
Right.
But I had told myself, God doesn't exist. And if he did, I mean, I was a very, very angry person, dealing with a lot of stuff. Like I said, hadn't been diagnosed with PTSD before. Didn't know, didn't understand all these feelings, but life was happening. I'm on my knees, sobbing, and I get this nudge, this little whisper, and I always do this because it's like it came from behind me. This little whisper. But those who hope in the Lord. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I was disgusted. Are you kidding me? Came again. But those who hope in the Lord. And I'm still sobbing. And I'm still saying, please. And then I was thinking, then all of a sudden I'm like, that sounds Bible-ish. Those who hope in the Lord. That sounds like something from a Bible or something. And I'm like, do I have a Bible in this house? Maybe I have a Bible in this house. Then my brain was like refocused. So I settled down a little bit, wasn't sobbing quite so hard. I'm like, I know we got a Bible. I'm sure we got a Bible when we got married. So I went somewhat frantic through the house looking for the Bible, found it, went back to the living room, sat on the floor, and I opened it. I'm going, how do you even find anything in this book? There's no index. There's no table of contents. I had never read the Bible. And I was mad, and I got angry and frustrated, and I just threw it from me. And I have hardwood floors. So it hit the floor, opened, and just slid like 2 feet from me. And I'm still crying. I'm just distraught. And it's just, crazy stuff in my head. And I heard the whisper for the third time, but those who hope in the Lord. And that time I actually heard it, like audible. And I turned behind me because that's where it was coming from. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I really am losing my mind. And I'm like distraught and crying, starting to cry harder again. And I look and I see the Bible that I had just thrown in anger. And I just reached forward and grabbed it and put it on my knee because I was sitting on my knees, and I just put it on my lap and I looked down, and the words that literally it felt like they were almost lit up. The words, but those who hope in the Lord will soar on wings like eagles, will run and not grow weary, will walk and not faint. I think I might have messed that up, but it's Isaiah. I had never read the Bible. Didn't know where anything was in the Bible. And it was that verse from that whisper, and reading that verse, that was the spark that started to light the path that I am now on.
Wow.
Yeah, it was kind of powerful.
That is.
Because then I started going to church. I never went to church either. I wasn't raised in church. I wasn't, had no familiarity with anything. But that started. Now, it wasn't like, boom, I'm a Christian. Oh, it was a bumpy road.
Sure.
Really, really, really bumpy. But I went to church. was angry. Like, who is this guy up there talking about Jesus? Are you kidding me? This is what I'm supposed to come here and listen to. These were my thoughts every Sunday. But I kept going. And then the longer I went, the less and less angry I became. And then one day, it was an Easter Sunday service. It all just kind of clicked and made sense and overwhelmed my soul.
Wow.
And went, okay, oh my goodness, forgive me. It was amazing. It's really so powerful for me. And that was probably a good 20 years ago. So it was in my mid-30s. So I'm always saying I'm a late bloomer. I didn't come into this walk early. I wasn't raised in it. I kind of, stumbled into it. But I found that no matter what your beliefs are, when you hit rock bottom, your own personal rock bottom, don't stay there. Look up. There's a spark of light somewhere. And if you can keep that in your head, and you're going to remember that, you hit your rock bottom, you're not done yet. Don't let the world tell you that you're done, because the world needs you. You're here for a reason.
Absolutely. What a powerful story. Thank you, Kim. Thank you for being on the King Connections podcast. Thank you for sharing, for being vulnerable, sharing such wonderful stories. Thank you for writing a book, Nuggets of Hope, and living that lifestyle and inspiring me, and I'm sure definitely touching and inspiring a lot of our listening audience. As we wrap up, please share any contact information where they can get the book, how can they contact you, anything you want to share with our listening audience.
Easiest way to find me if you want to learn more about me or find out about the books or my podcast or anything like that is just my website, which is my name, KimLenglingAuthor.com. You want to contact me, you can contact me right through there. My dog, Dexter, has his own little area because he's my office manager. He keeps me in line. So you contact through his little section. You can contact me through there. So yeah, that's the easiest place, KimLenglingAuthor.com. My books are all on Amazon, so you can check it out there too. And one thing I do want to share as a closing nugget, you might be going through something tough. Maybe you've been going through something tough for a long time. It's been long going, or it's just short, just started. Remember, you're getting up each day. And, when next time you're brushing your teeth and you look up and you're looking in the bathroom mirror, remind yourself that you have a 100% success rate of making it through the tough stuff because you're still here the next day. 100% success rate. Doesn't get any better than that.
Love it. Love it. Well, those are powerful words. Again, thank you for being on the King Connections podcast. Bring your light, your energy, and something we can all walk away with, these nuggets of hope. So until our next show, let's all continue to connect with intent, and let's look at ways that we can all give or receive some nuggets of hope. Thank you.